to look for it.
I'm waiting for it.
Okay, we're here. No one else is yet, so I'm just going to hang out for a minute. Give a few people some time to show up. Let's see, I've got everything I'm supposed to have here. Yep, that's good.
All right, I'm in.
All right. We're going to just hang out for a few minutes now. I'm going to make some adjustments to the camera, that kind of stuff, while we're waiting to let everybody get here. It's pretty good, I think. Hello, Bonnie the Pumpkin. Okay, now some people are starting to show up. Hey, it's Eric Lewis, aka Junk GTP. Nice to see you in the chat. As just like my last live stream, my wife's going to be helping me out again. So she'll be reading comments that I missed, because for anyone who's never done live on a phone on YouTube, you don't get to see comments but for just a second. So they're really easy to miss. Before I get into everything else, everybody here, just a quick reminder, if you could, to go down and hit like on the video. We've got like 8 viewing and no likes yet, so that just helps the video get out there and helps the channel. So if you guys could do that, I would appreciate it. I think I need this back further. The audio may not be great, just a warning, because the microphone I normally would use with my phone is gone. I mean, it was kind of broken, and then I had it set aside and it disappeared. So now I don't have it, so we're just using the built-in microphone right now. So unfortunately, that's where we are at this moment.
Excuse me, there is a message for you.
Hold on 1 second. I love when the phone completely doesn't.
Excuse me, there is a message
That's
for
my
you.
favorite thing to have happen. Okay, so before we get
Excuse me, there is a message for you.
Here. Good. Hopefully that's going to stop. Okay, Bonnie says it sounds fine. Good. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're here to celebrate a couple things this afternoon. First of all, the channel hit 4,000 subscribers, which is awesome. So I just want to say thank you to you guys, and especially a big thanks to the Patreon gang who help out financially with making these videos and stuff. That's really cool, and I just want to say thanks to everybody for that. The other thing we're here to celebrate, though, is the arrival of my ZZP Black Friday stuff. So I think I'm going to go through that and show you guys what all I got next. And then I'll probably open up the floor to just whatever you guys want to talk about for a little bit. But anyway, so the Black Friday sale was pretty cool. For anyone who doesn't know, ZZP does like anything between 5 and 50% off on Black Friday on a lot of different items, which is really, can be a pretty sizable discount. So I got several things, mostly for the red car, the 99 GTP, but let me show you some of the stuff I got. If you remember when I did that parts haul a few months ago, or whenever it was, Eric got one of his ZZP packages. Nice. I only had one package, so I guess that's why mine came in so quickly. But when I did that parts haul, I wound up with like 3/4 of an intercooler kit. I had basically everything but the core. So the first thing that I got was this beautiful ZZP 2.5 core, which I'm not going to take this off of right now because I do not want to bend any fins up. But it is a pretty nice piece. It's a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be. But it's got, let's see if I can show you the embossed ZZP stuff right there. You can't really see it, but it says Gen 5 right across here too. I like this piece. I chose to buy this just based on ZZP's video about it because, one, I like that the footprint is essentially exactly the same as the Gen 5 blower. So instead of having a bunch of intercoolers sticking out around it, it's going to just be this, which is really nice. Plus, the inlet and outlets are bigger, which is nice. I like the fact that they did the O-ring to join the two halves, because you can see right here is where it's split, and it's got recessed bolts, so that's nice and clean too. But it's got an O-ring that seals the two sides versus the old one was RTV'd together. So I feel like this is a much nicer looking piece. Plus, the PCV is straight through. This is bigger, which is nice. And this, to what I understand, and we'll know once I actually go to install it, from what I understand, this core fits the Gen 5 openings without having to cut them open so big like you have to with the old big long intercooler. And I am all about being able to do as little work as possible and get the same result. So that was my first purchase. Now, to go along with that, I needed some other accessories that they also had on sale. So the first thing you'll probably see me do a video and a full review on is going to be these ZZP billet fuel logs. And this is how the kit comes. It comes with a front and a back log. Let me back up so you guys can actually see them. But that's the log, the front and the back there. It comes with these nice braided pre-made lines for your return and your feed line. And this, which is the little kit where you would put your factory fuel pressure regulator right here. And then both of these don't actually stay on this. The line goes to one of them and then this gets moved to the other side. But I'll get into all that when I actually do the install. But these are really nice looking pieces. I am super stoked about getting these put in. And I'm going to do that as a separate video because I can do just the rails and just be ready for the intercooler without doing the intercooler. And I'm also probably going to swap in those 42-pound injectors that I got in that last parts haul. I probably don't need 42-pound injectors, but it's not going to hurt to have them in there, I guess. So that's probably what I'm going to do. Also, with that intercooler, it came with two other things. It came with this bolt kit to bolt the supercharger and the intercooler down, which is pretty much exactly like the bolt kit that I bought when I did the Gen 5 swap, just longer bolts. But those are nice. And I didn't know about this, but apparently it comes with this little machined EGR spacer. You can actually see it says EGR spacer. I'm not really sure why that is. Maybe you have to space the EGR bracket out.
Excuse me, there is a message for you.
Cooler. But I don't have an EGR valve, so I don't need to worry about that. So I may just have an extra spacer for whatever I want to do. Mary with the nice $5 super chat just so she can be inappropriate. This is a kid's show. Okay, it's definitely not a kid's show. But anyway, so that's almost everything. The only other two things I got, which are also things for the intercooler.
Excuse me, there is a message for you.
I picked up this intercooler fill kit because I have an idea for how I want to run this. And I think it's going to work well. I've actually seen a couple of these used for the fill, and you just tee it into one of the lines and then you can fill it from right on top of the engine bay. I like that better than trying to fill it at the core, which is the other option. Then the last thing that I got that I'm also pretty happy about is this ZZP Gen 5 belt wrap kit. Let me get you guys some good view of that. The embossing is nice. The machine work is really good. That's one thing. ZZP's machine work is always really nice looking. And then there is the pulley itself. So that is going to be put on at the same time that I do the intercooler. The lighting just changed. We can thank my lack of charging. No, that looks terrible. Don't do that. We can thank my lack of preparation and charging my light battery for that. But you guys can still see me, so it's okay. So anyway, that was my Black Friday haul. I'm pretty excited about that. There will be videos on all of these parts individually, and then I'm going to do a full intercooler install from start to finish, including fabbing up lines and running the wiring. And When I do the injector swap, I'll go over tuning for what you'll need to do to tune for the new injectors stuff, which actually in HP tuners is super, super easy. So that should be a pretty simple video. But anyway, other than that, I don't think a whole lot's going on. Snoopy, you need to get that full stack. You do. Intercoolers are one of the best mods that you can do to an L67 or an L32 because they're old, they don't come intercooled, and that's literally something that just doesn't happen anymore. Any newer supercharged cars come factory intercooled. It's just like back in the really, like if anyone remembers the early 80s when you would get turbo cars that was just like a turbo and then this much pipe and the throttle body, and they didn't have intercoolers. Some of them didn't have blow-off valves. It was crazy, and then wondered why the reliability wasn't that good. But it's just kind of like that. But so that's a huge improvement both for reliability and for performance, because from what I understand, you can get away with a lot more once you do that, as far as like keeping your knockdown and stuff like that. So let me rebox. Hold on just a second here. Though I almost don't want to. I kind of like just looking at this stuff. I'm sure you guys understand. Okay, with that reboxed, that's pretty much most of what I particularly wanted to talk about. Let me look at what this says here. Snoopy is gathering parts for that intercooler. Are you doing all ZZP stuff? I assume you probably are, because I'm not. Does anyone else make intercooler parts at all, much less like a kit? I know ZZP does, but I'm not sure anybody else does anymore. When I was looking on Intense's website last time, they didn't really have nearly the selection of stuff like that that ZZP had, which I'm all about, you know, competition and that kind of thing. So I hope that Intense is good competition for ZZP, but at the same time, it's like they just don't seem to. They seem to have their certain areas that they specialize in, like doing head porting and stuff like that. But as far as just overall selection of parts, I don't see nearly as much stuff over there as I do at ZZP. Intense, yes, Intense Racing, which is another thing very similar to ZZP. They're another company that's been around for a long time. Transpan spacers. I don't know who makes transpan. I mean, ZZP makes a transpan for the 4T65. They have an aluminum one that has fins on it and stuff, but I don't know that anyone makes spacers for it. If they do, I haven't found them. So if anyone does know of them, drop that in the chat or in the comments to this video so everyone can find them. Other than that, if anyone was not here when I said it earlier, who is here now, let me just once again go by and say thank you to everyone who has shared a video or done anything to help us get to the 4,000 mark, because that's awesome. And also, huge thanks to my patrons who financially assist me in making videos, which does get to be kind of expensive. I mean, this haul, even on sale, wasn't cheap, and buying parts and keeping stuff to review and to keep doing repairs and stuff is kind of pricey if you're just paying it out and not getting anything back from it. I missed someone saying hello. Who was that?
Red Storm GTP.
Red Storm GTP. Hi, what's up? There was a comment before that too.
That was Rick Danger saying car tuning performance did at one time, but not NY or I think he's trying to say anymore. I don't think.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the reoccurring theme when it comes to GTP parts. It seems like several years back when these cars were still being produced and were still new, a lot of the tuner websites and stuff would sell stuff for GTPs. And then now that they're they've been out of production for a few years and interest has dropped off, it's gotten to be a lot harder to find certain parts. So I've a lot of times I'll find old forum posts where they're like, "Oh, get this part from such and such," and then you go look and they don't make it anymore. Of course, I'm still sitting here waiting on someone to make a 24 millimeter rear sway bar for this car. That hasn't happened yet. Anyone knows where that can happen, please let me know. Lots of parts in junkyards. That's the truth. And I'm not above doing most of a build right out of a junkyard. If pull-apart's got stuff I need, that's an upgrade, I will take it. Blue Moon, sorry I'm late. No problem. Glad to see you again. I figured you'd pop in here at some point. We do, let's see. We're at 14 people right now. You got ADCO to make a rear sway bar. Now that's pretty interesting. How much did that cost, if you don't mind me asking? Also, while you're answering that, how much did that cost and what size, what diameter sway bar did you have ADCO make? And while he's working on that, did anyone miss the unboxing or want to see any of the parts again, since some people are here now that were not here earlier, because I can yank some stuff back out. Just throwing that out there. Patiently waiting on this reply about this sway bar. Okay. All right. So for at very least Blue Moon's sake, possibly some other people too, we're just going to do a quick once back over of what I got in the ZZP Black Friday sale. I'll be fast because I know you guys have already seen this. But once again, the big one, the nice one, this is the Stage 2.5 ZZP intercooler for the Gen 5 supercharger. This is a little closer look of it, some of the etching. This thing is a beautiful piece. It looks to be, quite a bit better than the old one. So there will be an intercooler install video coming. Also, the belt wrap kit, also ZZP. Another chance to check out some of this shiny, freshly machined metal. That's the belt wrap kit that adds a pulley to the belt to keep to get more wrap around the supercharger pulley. Also keeps the belt out of the way in front of that and keeps it down lower. Let's see. Bolts that came with the intercooler. They're not like super cool looking or anything, but they're shiny, so whatever. Fill kit for the intercooler. Another piece that goes to that. The little machined EGR spacer that I did not know I was going to get, that I don't need because I don't have an EGR valve, so I guess it's going to go in the junk drawer and one day it'll get turned into something. A spacer for a thing. I don't know what. And finally, the ZZP billet fuel rails, or fuel logs, I think is what they call them, but regardless. And the fuel pressure regulator adapter thingy and the lines. And that video is probably coming pretty soon because I have those 42-pound injectors ready to go in pretty much already. And I can install those rails without doing the whole intercooler kit. And then they'll be there and they'll be out of the way for when I do the intercooler. So that's two big videos that are on their way. One day, I don't know when, but one day I'm still going to do an oil pan gasket video on that 99 because I still need to. And I'm surprised that people aren't bothering me about it anymore because I need to be bothered about it or I'll never get it done. All right, let's see what this says. Oh, I can't read all of it. Read me that long comment, please.
It said, ADCO makes 659. I think that's the number. It's biggest I have found. I want to say it's 22. We have to special order it about 200. And then Zex back said, Sup Salem, great videos. They have helped me out a lot. Thanks.
Hey, what's up? And I'm glad that videos help. That's why I make them. The sway bar thing is very cool. I'm wondering what the turnaround on that was, if you don't mind answering another question, because that is definitely something I'm thinking about. Took you 8 months to wait to get, well, that's not that bad. And 22 is I mean, that's a reasonable size. Yeah, Intense doesn't do intercoolers. I didn't think Intense did intercoolers anymore. But yeah, I'm gonna think about that sway bar thing, because right now the largest rear sway bar we can get is the ZZP one that is a solid 19 millimeters, and 19 is really not very big. Running a GXP, the car, or a part off a G? I don't understand the context of that last comment. Turnaround was 3 months last spring. Well, that would be awesome. 3 months is not bad at all. I mean, a couple $100 is more than what the other sway bars cost. But anyone who's ever autocrossed, when it comes to a front wheel drive, the rear sway bar is like one of the most important pieces of the suspension. Like, even stock class cars that can't change much are allowed usually to change rear sway bars. And that's like the biggest thing that you need to make the car turn. And so I definitely am going to be thinking about looking into that. I don't know when, but at some point. Are you watching on your phone? I am. I am live streaming on my phone, actually. And then I have my lovely wife helping me watching on her phone, because my phone, unfortunately, only lets me see each comment for like 2 seconds. So if I don't get it read, it disappears off the screen. Why that's a feature, I don't know. And YouTube should really change that. They should just put a little scroller somewhere. I know when you guys watch it, there's a little scroll box of people talking, but I don't get to see that for whatever reason. So that's really weird. Yes, and Bonnie the Pumpkin is also watching. That's another little piece of channel news. My son has started helping me film. So he is going to be doing some of the camera work for me in some upcoming videos. So hopefully that's going to translate to maybe some better footage, or at very least me not having to concentrate on where the camera is and what I'm doing at the same time. Surely that can only net some sort of an improvement. So we've got that going on too. I'm gonna probably live stream for about 5 more minutes. So does anybody in the chat have any questions, topics, something you want to talk about? Whatever. It doesn't. Anything is good. You mean a scapegoat? A scapegoat too. But it's good to have a good scapegoat around. I mean, otherwise, right now it's just me. You guys get to blame me for everything. That's no good. At least this way I can share the blame with someone else who has very little creative control, and it wouldn't actually be his fault. All right, chat. What do we got going on? Let's talk about something else. What do we got? Lightweight rims would make a lot of sense, but our bolt pattern is mad. That is true, but let's not forget 5x114.3 wheels will fit W bodies. They're not identical, but they are less than a millimeter different, and they will bolt up. And if you look at 5x114.3 wheels, there's pretty much just a limitless supply, and especially of rear wheel drive offsets and wheels made for performance applications like Mustangs and stuff like that. So if you count those wheels too, we've got a pretty good selection. Although I like the 18s I've got on the 99, and they were actually made for that. Car Wizard said not to buy a Grand Prix. Discuss. Oh, I could discuss that for a
I
while.
missed a question.
Okay, let me go back and get with the question I missed, and then I'll get that one. What was that?
Rob Vandal asked if an evap leak is hard to fix.
An evap leak is not hard to fix, but is hard to find. That's usually the problem you run into with evap system leaks, is it can be a little tiny crack anywhere in any of the lines between the tank and the engine, or the gas cap. And any little leak can set leak codes. So usually if you can't find something visually, then your best bet's to have it smoke checked. If you know that all the main components like the purge solenoid and the vent solenoid are good and functioning correctly. Now back to the car wizard saying not to buy Grand Prix. A, I don't care what the car wizard says. B, I don't know why anyone would specifically say don't buy Grand Prix. For one, because a Grand Prix is the exact same car as an Impala, a Monte Carlo, a Buick Regal, in a lesser degree, the Oldsmobiles that are W bodies also. Although Oldsmobile has to be different and run completely different drivetrains just because Oldsmobile, I guess. But so if you were going to say don't buy Grand Prix, you'd have to say don't buy W bodies, which is one of General Motors' best-selling sedans, probably in history, who they've sold more units of than I could count. I mean, I would just about bet if you went to any major intersection and stood there for 5 minutes, you'd count 15 W bodies that would go by. If not just that, I mean, that could be enough evidence right there that the cars are worth buying. I mean, if they were complete junk, they wouldn't be everywhere. Two, just my personal experience. The ones that I've had have been really good. The 99 has 230,000 miles on it and has been, taken care of, but also run kind of hard. And other than it's got mods, it's got more boost than stock, all of that, and it's still very near perfect. Cranks up and runs every single time I jump in it. I would not hesitate to drive it anywhere. That Buick Regal's the same way, and it's been neglected. It's got a lot of stuff that it needs, but it's still, I mean, every time you jump in it, it cranks, it runs, it drives. So, I mean, I'd like to hear his video on that, but I have a strong feeling we disagree. Have you seen anything else?
Yes, Zach Brandenburg said, how did you get into W bodies?
I got into W bodies in a roundabout way. I was into SHOs, except for my ex-wife had a Grand Prix back in like the early 2000s. And being into SHOs, GTPs were like close rivals. There, if you have one, you know about the other. It's generally how those cars are. So I knew about them that way, and I liked her Grand Prix. And then later, when it came time to change cars, after going through a few other cars, I found my red 99, test drove it, loved it, bought that, then had to buy the 97, and then someone actually gave me the 05, and someone gave me the Regal too. So we're just collecting them at this point, but that just seems to be what happens once you get into W bodies, is they multiply.
That leads you to another statement made by Rick. He said, better question is, once you are in, how do you get out? LOL.
I don't know. If you ever figure out how to get out safely, just, let the rest of us know. It's important stuff. We don't want to lose anybody along the way. But yeah, it's hard not to be into them once you get to know them, because they're decent cars. They're pretty versatile. You can do a lot with them. There's the L67 cars make decent power right out of the gate. I mean, it's mostly the torque that's so impressive, but they're easily modifiable. They're easy to work on. They're reliable, and the parts are cheap. And I promise you, if you are used to them, there's a whole lot of other cars that if you go to, you'll come running back to W bodies to work on. Because I've had a lot of other cars, Nissans, Mazdas, Fords. I don't remember a lot of them, but I've been through a lot of different vehicles over the years, and trust me, like just an SHO as a good side-to-side comparison, every single engine part you buy for an SHO costs 4 times what it costs for a GTP. The SHO doesn't have anywhere near 300 foot-pounds of torque stock, and without boost, can't make anywhere near 300 foot-pounds of torque. The Yamaha engine is brilliant for what it is, but it is a pain in the butt. It's rare. Ford's discontinued the majority of it. And last I checked, if you have the 3.2 Yamaha engine, you can't even buy head gaskets anymore. So if you blow a head gasket, you literally can't get new ones. So, and a lot of cars have those kinds of problems. So that's one of the things that makes a W body such a good car to mess with, because GM literally just put 3800s in everything. Every car they could fit a 3800 in, they put a 3800 in. So they're so common that there will always be parts. There will never be a day, I don't think, or at least not for a long time, that you can't go into any auto parts store and there be half of everything you need to rebuild a 3800 on the shelf, because they're just that common. They're that well known of an engine. Plus, I mean, they're good engines. They're pretty reliable. And Mark, I agree with you. I plan on probably having a 3800 in my stable of cars indefinitely. I'll probably buy something else eventually as a different thing when I want to do something else. But I don't really plan on ever getting rid of any of my stuff. That red 99 is probably going to be with me forever, because with what I've already done to it, and as good a car as it's been, I can't see much of a reason to ever get rid of it. A quick reminder to anyone who hasn't, remember to like this video at some point, either now or after we're done, because it does help my channel show up in YouTube. It helps with the algorithm. I missed 2 comments. You'll have to read those to me.
You had CJ Laser say, I had a Series 1 GP and now my Gen Z 99. And then Mark again replied saying, I'm still happy with my 2002 Buick Regal.
Yes, and now that I own a Regal, because I have a 2001, I can understand why you're happy with it. Regals are not bad. I mean, I still am like mostly a Pontiac person, I think. But the Regal's very decent. I mean, I like this Regal. I don't know still that I'm going to keep it. I'm still probably eventually going to sell it. But like, the seats are awesome. And it's comfortable and it's reliable. It's kind of just sort of like a softer version of my Grand Prix. And my Grand Prix would be softer if I hadn't modified them. So take that for what it is. But either way, I like them. They're good cars. Now that we've got a Regal and 3 different Grand Prix in the mix, I guess we need some more W bodies so we can start comparing the rest of them. Though I've been tuning on a Monte Carlo like last week, so I have gotten some time with that, and I'm starting to really like Monte Carlos too. I wish that other W bodies got the gauge cluster the Monte Carlo has, because I like all the extra gauges. I think it's cool. Plus, I like that the Monte Carlo is the only 7th gen you can get that's 2-door, because of course Grand Prix went to all 4 doors by then. On your comment about the 01 Grand Prix with the 3.1, it's not as fast as a GTP. 3100s are not terrible engines. They don't have the power output 3800s have, but my ex-wife's car was a 3100. It was a 92, so it was the first W body generation. But despite the fact that they're not as powerful, those little 3100s are beasts of engines. I mean, hers went through hell, overheated multiple times. It has had, I mean, pretty much everything that could happen to an engine happened to that thing. And last I saw, it was approaching 400,000 miles and still running. When we sold it, the next people drove it for like a few more years, I think. What's up, Cars Simplified? I just see you pop in there. It's okay. You missed the unboxing too, but I'm going to leave this up. So anyone who missed the first part of this live stream can go back and check everything out. I don't want to make everyone sit through it again, though, because I feel like you've sat through it twice. That's probably enough. Is it good to run without a thermostat? It's not good to run without a thermostat. Colder thermostats, like running a 180 thermostat, is fine. But running without one, you're keeping the engine temp too low. And you can cause it to take too long to come out of open loop mode. And then it's just it's not good for the engine. The engine was designed to operate within a certain temperature range, and as cold as you can make it is not that temperature range. And everyone listen to Cars Simplified. As I've already said, make sure everyone likes this video. I tell you what, I was going to stop here, but we're at 21 viewers right now, which is the highest we've been at. So I'm going to give it a couple more minutes if you guys have a couple more things you want to talk about before I call it and go ahead and be done. So if you have another comment, throw that down there in there, and we'll maybe discuss a couple more things. And then we wait. Suddenly, everyone has gone quiet. All right, while I'm waiting on subject matter, let's see. And yes, the 01 Regal is in fair shape. I wouldn't say it's in good shape. As it sits right now, it needs a wheel bearing, 2 window regulators. I want to put struts on it because the ones that are on it are just weak. And I think that's about it. You've seen my 2002. I mean, probably, but I don't remember off the top of my head. What's the best power output for the 3800 non-supercharged? Do you mean the best modification power-wise, or how much can one of them make? Yeah, that's a good point about the emissions thing, too. I am fortunate enough to live in an area that does not require emissions testing, so I don't really have to worry about that too much. As far as mods on the NA 3800, since you've brought that up, let's talk about that for a minute. I have been doing mostly mods to my 99 because it's an L67 and it's the supercharged one, and that's the one I race and all of that. I think that's understandable. But I have had people ask a lot of questions about NA cars and modification. So I am toying with the idea of doing some performance stuff on the NA side also. I guess if I was going to do it, I'd have to use the 05 because that's the only NA car that I've got other than the Buick, and I really don't think the Buick needs mods because I'm trying not to make myself keep it. So if you guys would like to see that, let me know, and maybe we can start reviewing some performance parts for the NA cars also. That's something I would be willing to try to do as I'm able to. Yes, Blue Moon, I agree. I really don't particularly like the 3.6. Its power output's good. Torque's not that impressive. Way harder to work on. Way more problems. As a matter of fact, just worked on a 3.6 today in a Cadillac, and it's having really, really stupid problems and recalls on timing chains. Like, it's a disaster. Yes, I would agree the 3.6 is probably a piece of trash. Not my favorite engine at all. Why that replaced the 3800 is beyond me, other than GM just wanted something that looked more modern and that was overhead cam. But just imagine, they could have built an overhead cam 3.8, but let's not even get into that. That would have been horrible. That's one vote I see for doing some NA mods on the 05. What's up, Slow Pre? I see you popping in the chat here. I saw something about I have a 3.6 twin turbo Caddy CTS. If you have a twin turbo 3.6, we might need to talk about that in a different way. That's not the same thing as the stock one. The twin turbo any V6 is going to be a little more impressive, and I would be anxious to see that build because it really doesn't look like there's much space under there to do all that. So that would be really interesting to see. Let's see where we're at here. Did I miss anything else?
Mark said, I forget what year the Grand Prix.
Grand Prix were made for a long, long time. Oh, let's see this. Hold on. All right, 2 votes for NA power adders on the Prees. So we might have to look at that. I did think about maybe doing like a review of that weird intake insert, see if that does anything. Because the NA 3.8s are not bad engines. Okay, if you deleted your EGR and you're trying to get rid of the code, you're not going to be able to do that without a tuner. But you can go in HP tuners. It's super easy. You just go in engine diagnostic, find the code that you're having, and change its status, which it probably says something like report after 2 or something like that. Just switch that to no error reported, and it's gone forever. Just one of the many reasons it's nice having HP tuners, even if you're not planning a big horsepower build.
Mark said he meant what year are your Grand Prix?
Oh, okay. All right, so we got that clarified. My Grand Prix, I have got 3. I've got the Black 97, the problem child, which just continuously wants to ruin my life no matter what happens. I've got my Red 99, which is one of the best cars I've ever owned, and that's the one we modify and race. Then I've got the 05, which is a base model with now tons of upgrades because I got them for super cheap from a GXP in the junkyard. So I didn't mean to modify that one, but now it's modded some too. And that's my daily kick around car, that and the Buick. Your 97 runs strong. Then that makes your 97 better than mine currently. My 97, that's sort of a lie though. The engine on my 97 is fine. Right now it needs a transmission. Okay, as far as the comment on the NA mods ignoring forced induction, we definitely wouldn't be ignoring forced induction. What I was more planning on doing as far as the NA mods was just because a lot of people have asked, like, if you have an NA 3800, what mods work, which ones don't, is there anything worth putting on it? And I feel like that's one of the things I like to do with this channel is I like to answer questions like that. So that you don't have to go blow your money buying parts that may or may not do anything. I'll just waste my money instead. And that way we can find out if this stuff is worth even putting on a car or not. And, you know, if you gain anything. Now, if I were to build the 05, it would more than likely be receiving forced induction. As a matter of fact, if I were to, I'm not going to, so let's not get that started. But if I were to build the 05, it would probably be turbo. What's that last comment say?
Mark said, my 2002 Regal has the L36 motor non-supercharged. I've had the recall when I first got the car 3 years ago. And then Slow Pre said, exactly. Why you're so big, you're only going to get bigger. There's a lot of 3,800 guys out.
There seem to be a lot more 3,800 guys now than there were. I will say that. I've noticed since I got kind of established, I guess, on YouTube, I've noticed guys like GP Vlog and Terrell Smith and W Body Tech have all been like all of our channels are growing. So for content that's largely centered around a car that's been out of production for several years, I would say we're all doing pretty well. I'm surprised and happy. What was the other comment before that though?
The 2002 Regal one?
Yeah, what did that say?
Mark had said, my 2002 Regal has the L36 motor non-supercharged. I've had the recall when I first got the car 3 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, the Regal that I've got's NA2, and even though it doesn't have the power an L67 has, it's still a good car. And honestly, driving when you're not out trying to race or trying to drive hard, it's not like you even notice that big of a difference between the two. It's just when you're trying to be fast that you notice the difference. I mean, the torque difference is pretty substantial between the two cars. Horsepower wise, it's 20 or 30 horsepower, but anyway, definitely not. I would not talk junk about the NA 3800s either. It's still a good engine. It's just not. If you want big power, you don't want it to stay NA. Okay, as far as your question on the recall and why they only do one valve cover, the simple answer to why they only do one valve cover is because GM's having to pay for it, and they're only going to do the bare minimum because they don't want to spend any more money than they have to. It would be a good idea to do the front and the rear, because if you think about it, if the fire causing thing is the reason why you're having to change it, the rear valve cover is just as likely, if not more so, to start a fire than the front. The problem is GM had the problem on the front, and they were forced to do a recall on it. So now they're doing it, and they're only going to do what they have to. Like all Steelers. It's not actually the dealership, though. That's the thing. The dealerships get paid to do the work. So the dealership has a good reason to want to do that recall work. It's General Motors themselves that have to put out the money to pay the dealership to do the work. So they're actually the ones that are being stingy and not wanting to spend the money. The dealership doesn't care because they're going to get paid for it, whether it's a recall or not. So just in case anyone doesn't know how that hierarchy works. Anyway, let's see where we're at. 6:49. I'm going to give it one more minute. Anyone got one more topic or comment or whatever you want to throw out really quick last minute before we call it quits? This is what, a 46-minute live stream. That's pretty long. That's a record for us, I think. Oh, in case Cars Simplified is still here, make sure you go back and watch the rest of this, because I did an unboxing and showed this beautiful thing off a couple times with a lot of detail and many other shiny parts, but I wanted to show you that one in particular. So I got cool, new, nicely machined parts going on the car soon. Do you know of a good place to go for an instrument cluster rebuild on a Buick Regal GS? I don't know any companies. I know that a lot of that you can do yourself. It just depends on your level. I'll tell you what I did with my Buick Regal, because mine, the odometer part didn't light up because the resistors had broken off the board. And what I did was I just looked it up on YouTube. There's several guys on here who have shown how to fix the common failures on the Regal gauge cluster. And it's actually really, really easy, though. And yes, you can convert to LED too if you want to. I'm not that big on that stuff, so I haven't really looked into it, but I know you can do it.
Kill 'em Get 'em says, love your videos and keep it up.
Thank you to the person who said they love my videos. Thank you.
Kill 'em Get 'em.
Kill 'em, get 'em. Okay, and we're past time now, so I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. I appreciate it, though. This was a really, really actually good live stream. We had more people in this one, I think, than we did in the last one. So I'm out of here, but watch the channel the rest of this week, because I have another video already filmed that's coming out later on in the week. And then I'm going to get started on this stuff probably for next week. And Blue Moon just beat me to my outro. No. I can't believe he did. All right, that's it. You know what I say when I leave. Blue Moon said it. Go read his comment. I'll see you guys in the next one. If I know how to get out of this. I can't. Boom.